Okay, so on Friday with the sub, you worked with the slope formula. So on the slope formula, and I kind of have this color-coded here, so when you're using the slope formula, which you can see at the top, and you can check yours, this is the 5th page of the orange packet, you can kind of check yours to make sure that you are on the right track. So the slope formula says y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. That's the formula. So what I did is I went through and I marked every problem with an x1, y1, x2, y2. Why do you do x1 and x2? What does that mean? Well, it's just the first x in the problem and the second x in the problem. So this is the first xy in the problem. This is the second xy in the problem. That's all that means. So in the formula, you do y2 minus y1. So this is y2, so I put 10, minus, and then this is y1, so I put 8. 10 minus 8 gives me 2. Now let's do the x's. x2 in this problem is 9. So I wrote that first, minus x1 is 3. 9 minus 3 is 6, and then I just reduced. And the second one, it gets to be a little more complicated because you have a minus a negative. So let's go through that one. Again, y2, I labeled x1, y1, x2, y2. And I went ahead and did it on the next problem as well. x1, y1, x2, y2. And you can do that all the way down. Because you're going to need that if you're using the slope formula. But I'm going to show you today how to do it a little bit different. Okay, so up here on number 2, y2 was 1, y1 was 13. So I did 1 minus 13, which is negative 12. And then on the bottom, I went back to x2 and did 1 minus a negative 2. Minus a negative is the same thing as plus. So that's why I changed that to a plus, which gives me 3, and then I divided it to get negative 4. Okay, let me show you one step by step here. So I did the x1, y1, x2, y2. So the y2 number is negative 9. And the y1 number, so negative 9 minus, I would go ahead and just put that minus sign down and then put the 1. So that if it happened to be a negative 1, I would know to go ahead and put another negative sign. And then across the bottom, that's where I do my x's. So it's negative 4 and then minus 8. Now it's negative 4 minus, and then I didn't say this just a second ago, sorry, that 8 is negative, so I have to go negative 8. So the minus sign is always there, and then if the number happens to be negative, you actually have to write another minus sign. A negative times a negative is a positive, so this is actually going to become a plus. If we type into our calculator negative 9 minus 1, we get negative 10. Then negative 4, type that in, negative 4 plus 8 is 4. Now again, in our calculators, we can use those to reduce using that fraction button. If you remember that, it says n over d. If you use that button and type this in as a fraction, it will reduce the fraction for you. So you don't have to do that. You don't have to know how to do that. We're kind of past that point. So if you need your calculator, use your calculator. And that reduces, divide these both by 2, to negative 5 over 2. Okay, that's from Friday. So the substitute was here on Friday and walked you through the slope formula. But I'm going to kind of show you a little bit different way to do it where you don't need the formula, number one, and also it might be a little bit easier for you to figure out because it's just counting instead of subtracting or subtracting a negative or something like that, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and set up, we're going to do just a couple problems on this second column, column 2, and you can kind of see which way you like better. Feel free to use the formula if you like the formula better, or if you don't like the formula, do this way. Okay, so in order to do this, we need to set up a little table here. So in our table, this is X, this is Y. So we're going to put our points into the table. So 9, 2 goes like this, 9, 2, and then 4, 2 goes in the table, 4, 2. Okay, now I'm just going to ask you a question. How far is it from 9 to 4? And you might be able to say 5, but in all reality, we did go down 5. So we actually want to write this. So how far is it from 9 to 4? So that's 5. But we actually went down 5. So I'm going to write negative 5. Now, if you don't know that, I got this number line here. Okay, so you don't even need to know that that's 5 spaces. You're going to put your finger on 9, and you're going to count until you get to 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's 5. If you go this direction when you count, your answer will be a negative. If you count this way, it's positive. Because that's the difference between going down in value and going up in value. Okay? What if I just have the number 2? How far do I go if I'm going from 2 to 2? You might be thinking, well, you don't go anywhere. Exactly. And the number for not going anywhere is 0. Okay, so the only other thing you need to know is which one goes on top. Well, we know for slope, because we just talked about the slope formula, that the y numbers actually go on the top. You can see that here in the formula. The y numbers go on the top. So which number goes on top for my problem here is actually going to be the 0. So this is 0 over, and then I'll put my negative 5 on the bottom. And then I just either divide or reduce. And again, your calculator, type that in as a fraction, and it'll tell you that the actual final answer for this is 0. Okay. Now, I'm not convinced that that was enough to know exactly what's going on, so let's practice again. Okay, so we're going to make a little table. X's and Y's. And we put the numbers, put the points into the table. So 5, negative 6 goes first, 5, then negative 6, then negative 4, and 3. Okay. So I'm going to start by counting from 5 to negative 4. You might know the answer to this. How far is it from 5 to negative 4? You might know. But you might not know as well. So I'm going to show you how to do it. So you put your finger here on 5, and then you count until you get to negative 4. Okay, so starting here, don't count that one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So it's 9 spaces, and I counted in this direction, so it's going to be negative 9. Because my number went down, my value went down. And what if I went from negative 6 up to 3? So negative 6 is right here, and I've got to count until I get to 3. So starting at negative 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And this time I went to the right, my number got bigger, so I went up 9. Okay, we write that as a fraction. So our y number goes on the top, 9 on the top, with a negative 9 on the bottom. And then we reduce that, or just divide, which is negative 1. Okay, if you're getting the hang of it, go ahead and go on your own, but let's try one more just in case. So I'll go ahead and set up my table again. Sorry, there's not enough space. You can kind of move over to the right margin here if you need to. Or you can do it on a separate sheet of paper. There's nothing wrong with that. There's some scratch paper at the front of the room here. So let's write our points in. So negative 4 and negative 7 get the first slot. Okay, then my next point is -6 and -11. Oh, so many negatives. This one's going to be tough. Okay. -4 to -6. So I put my pen or my finger on -4 and I count until I get to -6. So that's 1, 2. And because I counted this way, it's -2. Okay. Now I do the next one. Now there doesn't happen to be a -11 on my number line, so I'm just going to make one. So this is -11. Okay, so I start at -11 and I just count until I get to -7. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And because I moved in this direction, that's positive. Then I write it as a fraction with the 4 on the top and the -2 on the bottom. And then divide or reduce. So my final answer here is -2. Now I don't like the fact that every one that we've done so far has come out to be a whole number. So I feel like I want to do one more just so we can make sure we can see a fraction. Because this one is definitely going to come out as a fraction, and it's a super wonky one too. So let's go ahead and do this one. Okay. So -12, 3, let's throw that in there. -12, 3, and 2, 7. I don't have a -12 on my chart either. So let's slide it out one more. Okay, so I start at -12 and I count until I get to 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 14. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Yep, for sure. Just wanted to make sure, double check. That's 14. And I went up 14. Okay, from 3 to 7. This one you might just know. I know from 3 to 7, that's up 4. There's 4 between there. Okay, now we write this as a fraction. So 4 on the top, 14 on the bottom. Okay, that is going to be a fraction. I don't want to just divide that, so I just need to reduce. They're both even. So I can divide them by 2. 4 divided by 2 is 2. 14 divided by 2 is 7. So 2 over 7. What you'll notice as you get going is that every one of these answers should pair with an answer on column number 1. So if you're not getting that to pair up with something, you can always ask, or we can just kind of check as we go along. Okay, so your job is just to finish this column 2, and then if you have a reassessment that you'd like to work on or want help with, you can ask about that during this time as well. So here we go.